Hello, thank you for joining me. My name is Darren Stevenson. Today is Thursday, January 16th, 2014. It's 10:50 a.m. There are a lot of topics on my mind this morning, but I think there are two specifically that I want to talk about. The first is the inadequacy of our models. The models that we're given of what a human being is, what an animal is, what intelligence looks like, what our minds are, what the universe is, what time is, what relation means, what ecologies are. And so I'm very worried about all these models because they're largely promulgated by experts who are disconnected from what they're modeling. In most cases, catastrophically disconnected. They actually, in order to say anything at all, they have to throw away 97% of what's true, and then they want to pretend that the remaining 3% is somehow valuable, intelligent, expert, and so on. And this is as true of the sort of religious experts and the scientific experts and the medical experts and the philosophical experts, the artificial intelligence experts, the psychologists, the neuroscientists, the biologists. Almost all of them are so disconnected from what they're talking about that before they even make a move, they've got to throw 97% of the truth away and then pretend that it doesn't exist just to keep talking. So that's the first issue that I want to be really clear about. Whatever you've been told about what it means to be human by any kind of authority is 97% wrong. And when you see people who appear to you to be superhuman, like, I don't know, some kind of a sports performer, a parkour expert, a martial artist, Einstein, any kind of extremely high-performing person who seems to even be leading the planet in a new direction, what you're seeing there is not a superhuman. You're actually seeing a subhuman that's gotten a tiny bit of a clue about the fact that everything that they were told is wrong. Everything. Including the people who are telling you that they think they know this. Those people are also wrong. The reason is kind of simple. Most of what we are and can be is A, completely unknown to us, and B, partly unspecified, which means it's in a superposition of states. You have to call it into being to discover what it might be. Now, one thing that's really important about that is that you can never arrive at the answer to a what question by testing. Here's the reason. Testing does not draw the superposition down into expression. All it does is measure the slaves who've been told what to be and kind of measures like how well they understand the rules that have been ascribed to them. Most of our medical technology is absolutely wrong. It's a mechanical technology for an organismal being. It doesn't work. They threw away 90% of our bodies, which is the bacterial subcultures, actually more than 90%, because along with bacterial subcultures, which are 90% of the cells in your body by number, 90, okay? They threw all that away. When they say your DNA, they're not talking about those. They're talking about 10% of your cells. 10, okay? And when you go to the doctor, what they're treating is a fraction, such a tiny fraction of that it would be as if you came to a 40-story building on fire, and what you did was try to put out a matchstick on the front porch. And you brought like 10 million armies to do that, okay? When actually it just took like one drop of water. And that one isn't going to affect the fire on the house at all. Now, you might say, well, if that's true, why can we get success in medical outcomes? Well, we can, because we focused so narrowly on the specific forces and symptoms of the outcome that we can just sort of surgically excise them. And that's kind of our goal. Unfortunately, those excisions, much like our criminals in our culture, were actually signals about problems in our ecology and our relational environment that we're ignoring. And so when we ignore them, we have to build hospitals and prisons to deal with the signals. And what do we do with those signals? We amputate them. We don't trace them back to their sources. We don't determine what the actual efficacy of our idea or methods are. We just sort of pump ourselves up and say, we're the experts, we know what to do, and we're going to charge you every possible fee now and in the future to do that to you. When I say all of the models are wrong, I want to give you a really clear idea about what I mean. The thing that you have in your skull that they call a brain is not separate from all of nature and all of time. It can't be. It was born in those relationships, of those relationships. Now, what that means actually is that your mind is at least as sophisticated as the entire universe of time-space. But what they sell you is like a little pencil tip thing that actually can't be or do anything if it merely follows the definition they made of your mind, which is this tiny thing instead of all of relation. Now, the other thing is they have the wrong idea about the age of the universe because they're measuring it in flat, human, solar orbital years. So let me just be really blunt. If you spin one human around the sun one time on a planet, that's one human life year. But if you spin 7 billion of them, that's 7 billion human life years. And I don't know how many stars there are in the universe, but each one of those is a relational participant. So what that means is that the actual age of the universe is so ridiculous that it's an unthinkable amount of time. What's really interesting about that is that you yourself, even if you spun one human around the sun one time, you have 50 trillion animal cells, 500 trillion bacterial cells, probably 5,000 trillion viral objects, and who knows how many fungal artifacts. So when you spin that around the sun one time, and those organisms are living at a different rate of time, and they're also relating with each other, creating other modes of time in you, that's not 1 year old. That's much older than our model of the estimate of the age of the universe, which means that the organ in your skull is actually many factors the stated age and complexity of the universe as we understand it. Of course, our understanding is, as I've said, very limited. So the first thing I want you to understand is that your mind is a power unlike anything humans can describe to you. It is impossible with language or description to get anywhere near what you're carrying, but strangely enough, because you use language and are representational like I am, you can be told what that mind is in such a way that shuts down 90 or more % of its ability to be itself. The same way that when you walk into any kind of relationship with an expert, you're going to be told things that seem to be unassailably true and powerful, but are actually completely invented falsehoods that pump up the expert's seeming expertise, power, ability to make change and to make policy and to earn money and to dominate other people and collectives with false ideas and knowledge. You're going to be subject to that person and the paradigms that they serve. Now, what we have in false collectives, which almost all of our collectives are false, particularly the religious and New Age collectives that are most popular, wildly falsified. What you have here are experts telling you your roles. And whenever that's going on, something's being hidden that's really explosively, astonishingly, frighteningly amazing. And that something is you. It's your mind. In fact, you are such an astonishing thing that if you had any idea what you were, you'd have no interest whatsoever in human collectives, stories, books, films, media, or anything. You would be learning and being and growing so heroically that the accomplishments of geniuses and sports teams would seem tedious to you, because your own accomplishments in almost every moment of relation and thought would exceed them dramatically. That's what you were born to be into. I think I'm going to stick with just that topic because it's complex enough and simple enough that I can make a separate video about the other topic that's bothering me, which is climate change. Really briefly, I'm going to say one simple thing about this. The defining problem of our generation is not climate change, although we are about to suffer extreme repercussions from the causes of that. The actual problem is that we're addicted to ideas and relationships with machines. Products, garbage, little tchotchkes, bad food, poisoned environments. And so we're so addicted to these things that we're actually wiping out living relational ecologies that are billions of times the age of the universe as we understand it. Those are irreplaceable. And the function of one of those ecologies, even a single animal, in 60 seconds is more valuable than the entire history of human technological advancement. I want to be really clear about that. The actual relational activities of a single cell in your body in 1 second are more profound than the entire history of human computation. All of it. One cell. Yet you have experts running around who want to tell you that they can build an artificial intelligence. Here's the problem. They don't have the slightest idea what intelligence is. And they're not demonstrating any. They're burning it down for their models. Nothing can survive that. No living ecology or being, and your body is an ecology, immersed in ecologies, can survive that. It's impossible. What you can do, if your world is so robustly, abundantly alive, is you can keep forcing those ecologies to absorb and protect you from the impact of your own lethal stupidity for a short period of time, geologically speaking. About 10 seconds, or maybe less, maybe 1 second, geologically speaking. We're now in that 1 second window where the history of our entire history, the entire history of our hubris, technological insanity, and the conversion of living networks into dead objects is about to start catching up with us in waves, okay? And one of the domains of signaling about that, one of them, is climate. The actual problem has nothing to do with the climate, or whether it's man-caused or the planet is causing it, or some other force is causing it. What it actually has to do with is that we're absolutely addicted to replacing living ecologies with dead, non-relational, poisoned space. Unstructured, unstructurable, unsurvivable. Our automobiles are a technology that any intelligent species would never allow to have more than 100 of those on the planet at any one time, ever. And we're massively reproducing them just like viruses, okay? Just like gigantic viruses. They surround our city blocks. We support them madly with all of our effort. We pay so that they can occupy space, and they run our lives. They run our nations. We make wars over them. We poison the environment in 15 different ways all day long with them. And this is just one example. I could name 1,000 examples like that. So the first thing I want you to understand is that experts are blind. They're blind by nature. It doesn't mean that their field of expertise isn't useful. It is. But when they start telling us what things are, our roles, what our health is, what medicine means, what intelligence means, what democracy means, what we can be or can't be together, they're wrong. Okay, and in my own personal relationships with experts, and I have many because I happen to work with a wide variety of them. I work with scientists all around the world in a scientific editing firm that I built. So we tell scientists how to say what they're trying to say better. I've been doing that for 10 years now. What I want you to understand is in my own relationships with experts, there are two very important features that are crucial to notice. The first is a truly intelligent expert is an amazing asset. But every one of them will have 30 blind spots surrounding their expertise that they are unequipped to even notice, and in many cases will not allow the perception of to emerge into their consciousness. They won't allow it under any circumstances. So what this is like if you tried to make a pair of like sunglasses, but they only had one lens that fit in the middle of your eye, and the things that normally hold them on your ears went into your eyes and then stuck in your brain and like started damaging you. So you got this lens right in the middle of your face that you can't see with. That lens is useful in an incredibly narrow set of contexts that have to be informed by lots of other kinds of intelligence and awareness in order to be actually survivable. Again, the problem is not climate change, but we're about to see radical swings back and forth between heat and cold as our planet attempts to deal with the fact that we've given her a fever, in the words of James Lovelock, who, however demented he may be in his advancing age, or maybe he's already passed away, he got that number right. We've given the earth a fever, and in case you don't know what having a fever is like, first you're sweating, then you're freezing, okay? That's exactly what we're going to be going through. Climate change isn't the problem. The problem is we've wiped out the ecologies that mediate the homeostatic environment of the cell that is Earth. And I want to be really, really blunt about this. We don't know what Earth is. No one does. But I'll tell you a simple fact. Whatever you think about human beings, Earth is about 1 billion-fold more intelligent than that. 1 billion-fold, at least, at the very, very least. Actually, probably so much more intelligent that numbers just become useless. Let me be really clear about one other thing. An entity that old and intelligent has friends. And those friends, just like your friends or family, they adore her. Or maybe she doesn't have a gender. In any case, she has friends of kinds that we don't even have categories for. And they're not very happy with what's going on down here because we're ripping her apart, just as if we were taking our mother and shotgunning her. Right? And with every blast, she both tries to absorb it so that she doesn't have to kill us to stop us going, right? But she also signals to her allies. This is what's been going on for at least the past 50 years, probably the past 100. We are the problem. We don't have to be afraid of an incoming projectile from space that will wipe us out, because we have become an incoming projectile from our own minds and technologies that will definitely wipe us out in very short order. Whether we have any time left at all or not is an open question. What that means is we need to act as if we've got a little time left and start coming to understand our problems with experts, the problems with models, the problems with the false collectives that we assemble from false expertise and false models that we have to serve, defend, fight each other over. We don't have any time for that, okay? We need to start understanding what it means to be a living intelligence in an ecological system of relationships that if you burn those down, everything dies. I think you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about very clearly. Outside of religion, outside of science, outside of philosophy, outside of experts, book sales, activism, outside of every human culture, beyond all human culture, there's a very simple fact. Biorelational excellence is the nature of life on Earth. Technologies, commerce, false collectives, and even science completely oppose and burn those down. I want to be really blunt with you about science for a minute. Science is a knowledge discipline that actually believes and says that it's good to torture living beings 24/7, 365 days a year, billions of them, right? Because they're all comprised of cells. Torturing living beings all day long to get false information to support false collectives, false hypotheses, and falsified lethal outcomes. That is never an authority you can trust. You either put a tight leash on that authority or it will wipe you out fast, okay? Because science is not serving purposive intelligence. Science is serving lethal masters, deadly purposes, and is so full of its own hubris as a way of knowing that alone it could wipe the planet out. Its experts are not your friends. You need to put a leash on those people right now, just like I said, to have them surrounded by a ring of other forms of intelligence that steer and inform their purpose. Otherwise, just like all the other experts, religious, political, military, the law enforcement community, our court system, those things go wildly haywire the minute they become disconnected from living intelligence. And what that means is the intimacy of purposive, unified human relation. You and I, with and for each other, and the history of life on Earth, and the potential of our future life. Not for any other idea, collective, book sale, or authority. You and I, like this. Not like that, okay? Like this. Thank you for joining me. Together, we have a way beyond, if we can remember where we come from, what it means to be alive as a human being with such astonishing assets and the most beautiful planet that we could ever hope to be born on. Thanks for joining me. Let's rescue each other and our world.